All right, everybody. Welcome to the stream. I'm Black Rant. How y'all been doing? We are rapidly approaching Christmas. We're rapidly approaching the holiday season. It's getting wild out here, up in these parts, up in this up in this bitch. So it's getting crazy. But I wanted to hop on here and have this stream today just because so much has been happening in conservative politics. So much has been going on in terms of the news cycle, the spin. It's been pretty incredible to see. I've got this truth up from Donald Trump. I mean, this weekend was jam packed. I mean, with all types of crazy events. R.I.P. to the people who died. Bondi Beach, Brown University. Um, and then Rob Reiner died, right? Rob Reiner, no fan of Donald Trump, but people are going crazy because Donald Trump's Truth Social, you can't even call it a tweet, but his Truth Social post that he put out just kind of wildly inappropriate, especially for the president of the United States. But given enough time, I mean, there hasn't really been any times when Trump has been this insensitive, this obnoxious, and time hasn't gone by and proven that he had just cause for being that fucking obnoxious. So there's been plenty of times when he's been like, just, it's like people are like, what in the heck? How dare he? That's unbecoming of a president. Blah, 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 blah. You know, very true. I don't disagree with you. But then later on, it came out that the person he was talking about was a, crazy, you know, PDF file or whatever, something like that. But here we go. Let's read it. Very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness. And with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before, may Rob and Michelle rest in peace. I'm sorry. It's like comical how absolutely narcissistic and obnoxious this post is. It's absolutely insanely comical. Because like, what normal person would talk like that would make somebody else's tragic murder about them. But let's put it like this, man. Dude, I'm looking like crap because I haven't been. These last few weeks have been very, very stressful. I've been doing like a butt ton of stuff. So, and then I also need a haircut. So please don't judge me. Do not judge me. Why are you judging me? Stop judging me. You're a judgmental person. Stop judging me. But it's just amazing how like crazy this post is from Donald Trump. And it's been a while since he's done something where it's like, dude, I had hardcore on my page. Trump people were like, why are you posting fake posts? This is fake news. Why are you posting fake tweets? Because also, not many people are on Truth Social. So people were like, this isn't real. That's a red check mark, not a blue check mark. And I'm like, it's from Truth Social. It's not meant to be a blue check mark. So here we are on my page, and go check out Black Rant for Liberty on Facebook if you want to grow my following a little bit more so we can get this thing popping. But when I first put it up there, a lot of the posts, the people's comments were like, dude, Trump didn't post this. I'm like, yes, he did. Yeah. Why are you calling me a liar? Like, just go check yourself before you start telling me things that, like, what, this guy's like my president. Great. Whatever. This person said fake news question mark. No, it is a real post. Someone said, "Did you vet this comment, Black Rand?" It's real, man. Trump. I think people are so. It's funny how people are, and this is gonna lead me into this whole Candace Owens thing, because the reality, the truth of the matter on Candace Owens is so funny. But people, when they have a hero, when they have somebody that they admire, when they have somebody that they like, they will bend over backwards. Excuse me. They will bend over backwards to try and justify why they like that person. Like, nothing that person does can be wrong. Nothing that person does is bad. You know, instead of realizing, like most adult human beings do and can. People are saying there's barely any sound. I hope there's sound now. But like most people barely do and can, you know, the truth of the matter is that human beings are human beings. You can like somebody and understand that they're an imperfect person. Like, they don't have to be this amazing, glorious person that you want them to be. Like, it's just funny to me because Trump has never been the guy who's like, hey, I'm perfect. He's not Michael Johnson. He's not like, oh, I go to church every Sunday and, you know, I have a wife of 37, 80, 100 years and, you know, we've got kids and everything's perfect and a white picket fence and all that. So Trump has never been like that. Everybody knows who Trump is. Trump is the guy who's been married 3 times. Trump is the guy who's got kids from a bunch of different marriages. Trump is the guy who had casinos. Trump is the guy who's on TV. Trump is the guy who's done modeling gigs and was a womanizer basically for the early part of his career. Trump is the guy who wanted to be a Hollywood actor and director. Trump is that guy. He's never claimed to be Mr. Morality. The funny thing is, it's like he has not even ever really promoted morality as a political stance, as part of his political platform. People have projected that onto his political platform because he's talked about law and order, because he's talked about things have gone too far. The only things that he's really condemned has been drugs, crime, and the trans agenda. That's all he's ever really done. He hasn't really advocated for, he hasn't said, oh, there's too much, you know, oh, the porn industry is bad. I've never heard Trump say anything bad about the porn industry. I've never seen him say anything bad about the porn. Trump has never talked about infidelity and how marriages, people are cheating on each other. He's never said, oh, that should stop. He's never talked about that. He's never said, oh, the sanctity of marriage is the number one concern of mine. Never. I just dropped my cap. But what Trump has done, which is brilliant, is Trump has created an ecosystem around him where all of those people from the evangelical groups on down have circled the wagons and come around him because they found it to be very beneficial to their movement as well. It's been a relationship, a mutually beneficial relationship for all sides in terms of politically. But Trump has never advocated for, like, oh, you know, he said, you know, we need Jesus Christ back, we need the church back, we need, you know, Christian values back. But what does that actually mean? He hasn't elaborated on that. He hasn't said anything about that. He said, oh, we need Christmas back. Outside of those things, he hasn't really given much. People project that onto Trump, this higher sense of morality. And that's a dangerous thing. That's actually like a really crazy thing for people to do, to project morality onto politicians when the very nature of politics itself is degrading to one's morality. So I'll say this. This is something that is always very... this is something that's always been very... this has always been a skill set of mine, okay? I've always had this skill set and this talent to be able to um, figure out exactly how a system works. How does a system actually work? How does something actually function, right? And in my understanding of the system of politics is it is a system in which you cannot maintain a higher value and sense of morality. Why? Because number one, in politics, you need consensus. Point blank period. You know where morality comes from? It doesn't come from consensus. It comes from personal values. And so, for example, I know so many politicians who are terrible politicians. Terrible politicians. Why? Why are they terrible politicians, do you ask? Because they think that they can win elections by preaching to everyone their sense of morality. That's not how you win elections. You win elections by preaching to everyone else's sense of morality, not yours. Does that make sense? So, for example, what does everybody else value right now? Excuse me. What does everybody else value right now? Everyone else values security and safety. Everyone else values being able to walk down the street. Everyone else values having some money in their pocket. Everybody else values being able to afford a home. What do people not value right now? What do people not really care about on the whole, in mass? What is something that people aren't really super duper interested in right now, in mass, but the fringes care about a lot? Well, I'll tell you one thing. Abortion has always been one of those issues. The majority of people do not spend all of their time wanting to ban and outlaw abortion, especially millennials at this point in time. The majority of people do not spend all of their time wanting to have full-term abortion. Those are fringe concepts. Those are things that the far right and the far left want, not things that people in the middle give a damn about. I gotta turn it. Is the volume better now? Volume better now? I gotta turn up the damn volume, dude. All right, cool. That's something that the far left and the far right care about. The far left cares about full term, all the way, 12, 15 months. You can abort a baby at 15 months. The far right says no abortion whatsoever. So what do the establishment, K Street, political groups, the consulting class, what do? They say, let's turn this into a political football of morality. When in reality, no one actually cares about this issue to that extent. People just want reasonable legislation. You can't go in there and kill a kid after they come out, after you've given birth to them. And people don't necessarily want no abortion whatsoever, where it's like somebody gets pregnant on accident and it's like 3 weeks or something and you can't do anything about it or whatever, whatever. People just want reasonable actions. Reasonable actions. But this is politics. You have someone who could be very principled. I know quite a few very principled people. But they're shitty politicians because they will harp on this thing of, I don't want abortions at all, period. They should be outlawed 1,000 million %, And it's like, these are very principled, moral people. But that's not how you win an election. An election is based upon group consensus. You have to meet everyone in the middle. And that's why we have such an issue on the right now, because no one is extreme enough for the far right. But how do you win elections? You have to be in the middle, because most people who go to work, who pay their bills, who pick their kids up from soccer practice or karate or whatever, or they just want to go out after work and get a beer or what, they're not concerned about the Jews. They're not concerned about, the grand conspiracy. And so this is what brings me to Candace Owens. Candace Owens right now, I've always given her tons of leeway because I see what she's doing. She's very intelligent. But the thing Candace Owens has always done is she's always started with the end result in mind. She knows what she is trying to accomplish. That's what makes someone a smart political operator. You can't just jump into something and then hope it turns out well. That's not how politics works. I forgot who said it. I think it was either FDR or I think it was FDR. But the quote is, I'm going to butcher the hell out of this quote, but it has something to do with, politics is staged. It's basically, people get together and they know the result before before the end. Right. And so that I didn't even butcher the quote because I didn't even say a quote. But anyway, we can look that up. FDR said something of the sort. Let me look that up, dude. FDR quote, politics being staged. Is that FDR? It could be TR, but I think it's probably FDR. Oh, okay. Yeah, he said, in politics, nothing happens by accident. That's what Franklin Delano Roosevelt said. And that's very true. So when people see a result happening in politics, what you have to always keep in mind is that the result was already decided behind closed doors. Now, whether it was decided 20 minutes beforehand or 20 days beforehand or 20 years beforehand, that's where we can start to have a debate about conspiracy. But the result was already come to. And so the thing that has been irritating me lately about Candace Owens is not what she does or how she does it or anything like that. The thing that has been frustrating is because this is very QAnon-y. What do I mean by it's very QAnon-y? I remember QAnon. I was on the QAnon train. I was like, this is very interesting, but I am a 20-year plus veteran of the PSYOP. I am very well informed about what a PSYOP is and how it works. And so I was, cautiously watching the QAnon thing. Cautiously. But I was like, some of this is very interesting. Some of it has actually panned out, but what it was a limited hangout for people who wanted answers. It was obviously controlled by people who were in intelligence networks in the past, whether they were in the intelligence networks at the time or whether they were in the intelligence networks, they were retired or whatever. It was being controlled by people who understood the lingo, understood what to say. But you could tell after a certain point that they were just playing a game of breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs. Now, anybody who was smart enough, such as myself, I give myself a pat on the back, knew that if this was a group of people who knew the truth, they were Q-level intelligence people, they had all the top secrets, if this was really a group of people who knew the plan, then they already understood what the expectation was and what the result should have been. Where are we going? I guess that's the question. You know how you say cui bono, who benefits? In politics, you say who benefits. And when it comes to a political narrative, you always ask, where are we going? Where is this taking us? Right? When you see a mass shooting, you go, what is the propaganda? Where is the propaganda taking us? The propaganda usually is trying to lead us towards gun control, right? It's never trying to lead us. It's never trying to lead you towards, you should probably buy a gun for safety. No. The propaganda is always trying to lead you more towards gun control. Okay? So the QAnon was like, where are we going? Where is this leading us? Where is this taking me? And after a certain point, I realized it's not going anywhere. It's just here. Wait, stay tuned for the next breadcrumb. Stay tuned for the next breadcrumb. Stay tuned for the next breadcrumb. Decipher these magical numbers and codes. And that's what Candace Owens is doing. Candace Owens wouldn't have picked this fight if she didn't already know something that we don't know. Does that make sense? She already knew when Charlie Kirk got assassinated that something was amiss. And she had to have known pretty early on exactly what that was. Because you don't get on a live stream in front of hundreds of thousands of viewers at a time, millions of people, and not know where you're going with what you're talking about, and then drag something out for 3 months unless you know exactly what the weak point is. She's not a stupid person, dude. She knows what she's doing. She is being specifically very targeted. And people are so naive. And I say this because I just got attacked by a guy who is a friend of mine who attacked me for the QAnon thing 4 years ago. We were in a group chat talking about QAnon. We were all like, oh, that's very interesting. And it got to a point, like I said, where we were just like, a couple of us were like, this is just breadcrumb shit. And they were, oh, January 6th, go to January 6th. And I was like, you know what, man, let's be very skeptical about what this is. And all I said was, let's just be skeptical about what this is. And this nigga flipped on me hard, bro. Hard. I was like, what did I say? I just said, how do we not know this is also a psyop? Or at one point in time, maybe it was controlled by white hats and now it's being controlled by black hats. How do we know? Because you don't know who's on the other side of the screen. I'm just asking questions. That's all I was doing, was just asking questions. And this dude flipped on me. And would you believe it? I said something. He follows me on my Instagram. I said something about Candace Owens that I think, it's not giving me the right energy. I think Candace Owens is up to something, and it's not trying to find out who killed Charlie Kirk. And could you believe it? The guy flipped on me again. He didn't radically flip on me, but he said, I don't agree with what you're saying. And I'm like, of course you don't, because you're the same dude who didn't learn his lesson from QAnon. You're the same guy. So this is the same dude. This is the same guy. The same guy who didn't learn his lesson from QAnon. He's got a problem with me pointing out that Candace Owens may not actually be seeking the truth about Charlie Kirk. And you know how I absolutely know that I'm right about this? Because she got what she wanted. Remember a couple of weeks ago when Turning Point USA said, hey, we're willing to have Candace Owens on to talk about this completely live and in color. And she said, great. And then they set a time, they set a date, and she said, oh, no, I can't do that. And then Erika Kirk comes out. She keeps the pressure on, because Erika Kirk comes out and says, stop. Candace Owens says, no, I'm not going to stop. Screw you, I'm not going to stop. After I said from the beginning that the only people who could make me stop are my husband and Erika Kirk. And Erika Kirk says stop, and she says no. Why would you do that? Because it's blackmail. My theory is Candace Owens knows something about Turning Point USA. She knows that all these people's dirt. These people are not holier than thou. I'm not saying Turning Point USA is this pure of the pure organizations and Candace Owens is the most evil of the evil. This is the nuance that people don't understand. If you disagree with Candace, people think that you're like in on it and you're receiving $7,000 from Israel. Damn it, I wish I was receiving $7,000 from somebody. No, I'm not. I can see the actual psyop. Candace Owens, what's happening here is a certain type of, in my opinion, I don't know, but a certain type of political blackmail. Okay, I can only have the term blackmail. It could be something different, but she knows something about Turning Point USA that she knows that they do not want her to reveal. Because why would Erika Kirk come out and say, I'm going to meet with Candace Owens? Why would she need to meet with Candace Owens? Let Candace Owens keep saying what she's saying, and if she has absolutely nothing, then she'll have absolutely nothing. But what is going on is Candace has her little spies everywhere. I'm sure she probably pays people who work at Turning Point who get paid less than minimum wage. And she goes, here's a couple extra $1,000. Give me some information. Tell me what's going on in there. She probably knows a couple people who are on the board of directors. Candace is connected because her husband is a British lord, okay? That's weird. She wants to point the finger everywhere else about how everybody else is acting weird. Who gets proposed to over Skype? But okay. And I'm just being fair. I'm just calling it like it is. I'm just being fair. I'm not attacking Candace because I hate Candace. I'm not attacking her because I work for Israel. I'm not sticking up for Turning Point USA because they're amazing. I'm sticking up for the conservative coalition as a whole because you don't think Charlie Kirk knew dirt about almost everybody in the Republican Party? But that nigga kept his lips shut because he knew winning was more important than exposing people to try to get what you want. And that's the difference. People keep posting this quote from Charlie Kirk to justify Candace Owens' actions. And the quote is something like, never stop asking questions. That's how we win. And I'm like, dude, I think he was referring to asking questions in terms of the cultural fight and why it's not okay, why the media says it's not okay to love our country and love who we are as Americans. Don't stop asking those questions. I don't think he was sitting there saying, don't stop asking questions regardless whether or not it destroys the reputation of pillar conservative organizations that help win elections. Like, I don't think that was Charlie Kirk's, I don't think that was his philosophy, because if it was his philosophy, Turning Point USA would not be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He would not have gotten that state level funeral. He would not have gotten the Medal of Freedom, because people who earn those prestigious commendations and awards and prestige and people who are celebrated in death are usually the people who keep the most valuable secrets. And I'm not saying that to justify keeping terrible secrets. No. I'm saying secrets that are not worth exposing, things that would just topple the whole house of cards just to tell the truth. Because at the end of the day, most people are going to take in the truth the only way that they can take it in anyhow. I had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day about Epstein, because I had thought about this several years ago. I knew who Jeffrey Epstein was way back in like 2014, 2013 anyway. And I was used to be, back then, I was like, man, just throw it. Just tell everybody the truth. And then I thought about it and I said, man, you know what? Even if they showed everybody the Frazzle Drip video, if they hacked the Times Square screen and played it on or if they hacked everybody's phone and sent the signal and the video to everybody's phone, so they had to see the Frazzle Drip video with Hillary Clinton. They had to see it. They had to witness it. Number one, a large percentage of the population, their minds would mentally shatter. They would not even be able to handle it. I say 50% of the population would go, this is fake anyway, especially now in 2025 with AI. People would be like, I don't believe it. There's things you could show people to their faces and they'll go, I don't believe it. The other 50% would be divvied up into the sections of society. The people who couldn't mentally handle it would have a breakdown. The people who would become very violent and want to do something about it, which would be another 15, 20% of the population. There would be very few people in the populace who would take that information in, ingest it, understand that that was real, and then go, okay, let's calmly arrest those people. That would probably be 10% or less of the world's population. But people are like, put the truth out there. Damn the consequences. Release the Epstein files. I'm like, are you people insane? Yes, I want the truth. But do you understand how many totally asleep people are out here just living their daily lives? They don't even know who Jeffrey Epstein was. They think Jeffrey Epstein was just some rich guy who liked models or something. They don't even understand that this was a honeypot operation. This guy was a double, triple agent for multiple different government agents. I mean, come on. They can't even handle that. And you're like, release it all. It's like, and I hear that from people who have been talking about this cabal for years. And I understand that that's vindication for them. But it's not vindication for society as a whole. Because let's just say aliens came down. Overall, I think aliens being proven to be real, if they were benevolent, a benevolent species, would be overall good for human society. But everybody knows, because we have been shown this, we have been programmed with this, and we intuitively understand that there would be a large percentage of our populace that would lose their shit. Period. Especially the most religious people, because it would fly right in the face of most religious doctrine, dogma. So why do we want naked truth? Because we think we want naked truth, but we don't even want naked truth. People who are calling for naked truth are the same people watching the NFL every goddamn weekend and acting like those games ain't rigged. What? My nigga, come on, come on, bro. Dude, I'm just I'm blown away. The same people who, release the Epstein files. If Trump doesn't do it, then he's in on it. I'm going to go watch my game and bet on it. Are you, what? These are the same people. Are you stupid? Personal accountability, self-awareness is not something that most people have. And that's why people want to pretend like they're the guy. I'm the dude who wants all the truth. I'm going to be honest with you. I am not that guy. I do not want to see that frazzle drip video. I want to go to sleep at night. I like my sleep. I don't want to see that frazzle drip video. You, what? I have to admit, I have been tempted. I've been like, man, that'd be very interesting to see. But I know me, and I know that it would be, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if I'm that guy. It's like, I don't. And if you don't know what I mean by the frazzle drip video, there is an alleged video that was on Anthony Weiner's laptop that they confiscated, where allegedly Huma Abedin, who is now married to Alexander Soros, George Soros' son. She used to be married to Anthony Weiner. There's an alleged video of Huma Abedin and Hillary Clinton slicing a little girl's face off and wearing it, and drinking in the adrenochrome and all that other stuff. So if you didn't know, now you know. I don't know if I want to see that. I do not know if I'm interested in seeing that video. And people have claimed that they've seen it. Listen, I don't know. Anyway, that's my rant on that. But like I'm saying, Candace Owens is the whole thing is QAnon-y to me. And I think her whole goal was just to get something from Turning Point USA. She's mentioned it several times. She said it in one live stream. She's like, oh, they should just hire me to do their PR. I could do a better job than they could. Allegedly, Candace Owens' British Lord husband used to be the leader, the chairman of the Turning Point UK. And he wanted to be the CEO of Turning Point USA. So when people point out, Candace Owens has just as much motive to be behind this as anyone else, and who would people just aren't very sophisticated, because it's like I'm not claiming Candace Owens is any criminal involvement. I'm just saying we're all speculating. We're asking questions here. It's what better disguise to wear than the grieving friend just looking for the truth if you were the one who was actually behind the whole damn thing? What better way to disguise yourself and cloak yourself than to have half of the internet, half of conservatives on your side fighting for you when you were the one who actually may have had something to do with it, allegedly. Like, what better disguise to wear? It's like, especially when the motive is there. So what I'm saying is, Candace meeting with Erika Kirk today, it should be a good sign. You would think it'd be a good sign. We will see what comes out of this. We will see whether the tone and the rhetoric changes. We will see what comes of this. But as of right now, my theory is simply this, that Candace Owens, because that's what I would do. If I want something from you, I'm going to hound you and hound you and hound you in the media and the press. I'm going to put pressure on you. I'm going to make everybody think that you're wrong and you're bad until you capitulate and say, okay, what do you want? Just leave us alone. That's what it looks like to me. Because when you say, if Candace was a man, everybody would be like, what a dishonorable scumbag. Because if a man doesn't stick to his word, people are like all up in arms. But she's not a man. If I said, the only people who can make me stop talking about this subject are this person, and one of the people says stop talking about it, and I don't stop, and I don't give a reason why I'm not stopping, her reason was so flimsy. She told me to stop lying. I'm not lying. It's like, no. Come on, we're not splitting hairs here, okay? Listen, and I don't even dislike Candace. Let's just keep it a buck. I have nothing really against Candace. The only thing I have about this whole situation is it's a distraction, number one. It plays upon people's distrust of the government and of the media, which is justifiable. Nobody should trust the media or the government wholesale anymore. However, what does it benefit any fucking body at this point to know who killed Charlie? Like what is that going to do for any regular ass person? What was that like? What is it going to do? Unless they discovered like Trump did it or something, like, which is, I'm sure that's not the case. What? Okay, you find out. Let's just say a government is behind it. Let's just say a shadowy cartel group is behind. Okay, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What are you, the viewer at home, going to do? That's what I thought. You're going to wait till the next election and vote. So most people are just voyeurs who just want to be part of a cool, cute little story, and they want to feel like they're involved. I get it. I understand. I appreciate everybody's desire to want to understand and know more about the world. But you cannot exchange one, news giver for another news giver. And that's all people tend to do over and over and over and over and over again. Because most people, not everybody, but a lot of people are not actually equipped with critical thinking skills. They have enough thanks to public schooling. I know it's not really anybody's fault, but thanks to public schooling, people can put this piece and this piece together, but maybe they can't put more than that together. And so people are like, well, I don't trust the media, the mainstream media, so I reject them. But this person over here, I like what they say, so I'm going to bring this person to me. And then once I'm talking and listening to that person, then I'm only going to look at what they say. And that's all people are doing right now. Because I've looked at what Candace has said. Nothing burgers everywhere. So to me, all it looks like is you're just trying to motivate, incite an energy that gets you a conversation with somebody else. And she got it. She got the conversation with Erika Kirk. That's what you do. It's like what's that guy, that football guy who was like, kept bending the knee and, God, what is his name? His name is like on the tip of my brain. That guy is so bad. I'm trying to friggin' Colin Kaepernick. It's like Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick, except he did it in like the most stupid way ever. But he was trying to force the NFL into negotiations with him. And he was trying to pretend like he was doing it on behalf of all the other players when really he wasn't. He was doing it for himself. And they looked at him and they were like, well, you're actually not even really that good of a quarterback anyway. So you can leave. There's the door. Remember Colin Kaepernick? All that, kneeling and pretending like he's Mr. Pro-Black and all this other stuff. It was all a ploy. It's all a political ploy to try to gain leverage over a business. It's like corporate espionage, except it's not espionage. It's like corporate blackmail. It's like you're trying to gain leverage over a group by creating a fervor that people get behind, a political movement for people, so that there's enough people talking about the same thing over and over again, so you force a company or a corporation into action or into conversation with you. And Colin Kaepernick tried that, and it failed miserably because he was already starting with a stupid concept. And then he was like, you got all these NFL players who are super comfortable with their contracts. They're like, yo, I'm not sticking my neck out for you. And all he was trying to do was get a better deal for himself and become the face of the NFL or something like that. And it was not working. It failed. It failed miserably because, he attached himself to another political movement that already was like this. So yeah, but people do that all the time, man. It happens all the time. You can look back in history, you can look back all over the place and see the exact same maneuvers time and time again. So now what I want to do is I want to shift gears because I don't like spending all of my time talking about Candace Owens. Like I said, it's not really like a big deal to me. Excuse me. The only reason why I'm talking about it is because people are like obsessed with this notion that Turning Point USA is hiding something. I'm sure they are hiding a bunch of stuff, but it may not have anything to do with Charlie Kirk. It's like one thing I've noticed about the people that we have in positions of power now, and there's so much criticism of like Kash Patel and people like that and Dan Bongino. They're like, these people are lying. They're obviously lying. I'm like, dude, that's actually a sign that they're actually better people than the people we had before. Because the people we had before were pathological liars. They're people who indulged in lying. They were narcissistic sociopaths who loved to lie to the American people. What you have now are people who actually can't lie they look terrible when they try to lie. Like, yes, they are trying to lie because the nature of their jobs and their positions, like the FBI is an intelligence agency. I don't know if anybody realizes that, but it is. It's not just a police law enforcement agency. It is also an intelligence agency. And so most of what they do, especially in terms of international affairs, things that they do overseas and catching terrorists and all this other stuff, it's like Kash Patel's job is a political position where he has to lie. I'm sorry. It's like it's so crazy to me because I think like Trump was so refreshing to most people. He told a lot of the truth. He said things that most politicians never wanted to say because it exposed them. It exposed the corruption of those politicians if they admitted those things. Because Trump wasn't involved in that corruption, he could point it out. But that does not mean that the mechanism of the government and politics itself is now going to be completely honest. I don't know why conservatives and Republicans, it's like they're like super naive. Like they're like, well, we got Trump in. We should have like a really honest system now. And I'm like, why would you believe that? That's like a childish thought process. Oh, we voted in some new people, so the entire bureaucracy does not need to be deceived and maneuvered and manipulated and washed away and cut off. And they're doing everything that they can to get rid of this overblown, bloated bureaucracy, and they can't always tell the truth to do it. There's people within the FBI holding major positions where if Kash Patel were sitting there just telling everybody the truth, they'd be like, oh, let's just go over there and shut that down. And obstruct. That's what they're doing. It's like, so I'm sorry, people. They're not telling you the truth all the time. So you kind of do have to be a little bit more politically savvy. You kind of do need to, like, still keep thinking. It's just because Trump's in there doesn't mean you could just turn your brain off and go watch football and yay, woo. Like, that's what everybody wanted. That was the first term, because Trump could do certain things in the first term, but this is the second term is about making this last. He's trying to make this last. And so to make it actually last, this is actually the term where they're actually taking it to the deep state. They're actually doing stuff now. So it doesn't look like they're doing stuff because they actually are doing stuff. It's like, it's not surface level, reality TV like the first term. They're actually doing stuff where they can't tell you what they're doing, because if they told you, then the enemy would know what they were doing. It's like, I know that sounds like I'm bullshitting and I'm making that up and I'm bootlicking, but it's like, if you actually just thought about it in terms of the art of war, the first term was the disruptive term. That was the agitation propaganda term. That was agitating the left. That whole first term was simply to agitate the left. When Trump didn't get in the second time, that was to make the left blow their wad, so they had nothing left. So now they're in for the second term. The left has no more ammunition, truly. That's what Doge is for. Cut off their funding. They're actually doing stuff now. And so it doesn't look as celebratory. It doesn't look as happy in the first year. We're not able to just, yay, cheer for everything, because this is the year of the snake. This is the year of deception. This is the year when shit actually gets done. Next year, probably going to be a lot different. We could probably do a little bit more celebrating. But, all right, let's shift gears here, because I wanted to play, and I know everybody's getting a little tired of me ranting and preaching at everybody. Dude, I'm telling you, that's why I take my time. You don't want me to get ramped up on them. You don't want me to get ramped up. I have so much to say and not a lot of time to say it. I'm looking for this very specific clip from Newt Gingrich. Newt Gingrich is always on point. That man knows Washington, D.C. in and out. If you're not into politics, where you're like, oh, I really I'm a nerd about this stuff I'm kind of passionate about, like knowing how this works, I get it. I totally get it. But that's what the problem is now with Trump having gotten in. Trump has actually made politics very available to most people. And the problem is, most people don't actually really like politics. They don't realize it. They just liked the winning. They just liked the name calling. They just liked all that shit. But all right, let's listen to this. Okay, let's not listen to this. It's an advertisement. Go away. Oh my God, hold on. Dude. Why are you tripping? This thing is tripping so hard, man.
Republicans lost New York City. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Socialism runs wild in New York. But they lost New Jersey. They lost Virginia. They got clobbered in Miami this past week, which was something of a shocker. I think the party's in denial about that. They did win in Nashville, Tennessee. But by and large, there just seems to be a non-Republican wave going on. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that. What's the big picture here? What does this mean?
Look, I think it's pretty straightforward. If the economy recovers, as you and I think it will, Republicans will keep the House and increase their margin in the Senate. If the economy does not recover, the Republicans are in real trouble. And I think the president's goal has to be to continue to cut spending, to continue to cut regulations, to allow the One Big Beautiful Bill to go into effect January 1, and to continue around the world marketing investment in the U.S. and purchase of American goods.
I love listening to Newt Gingrich. I don't think he's like, God or anything, but I like listening to Newt Gingrich because what he said is absolutely correct. And I tried to let everybody know this, dude. It's like what is happening on the Republican side is going to be so detrimental if the Republicans cannot get their stuff together. They cannot band together. If they can't get this economy on point, guess what? The Democrats are going to rally. They're going to win the midterms, the majority, and Trump will be impeached, and every Trump initiative will be stopped dead in its tracks. And guess what? We'll go back, not just back, we will go even harder towards a crime-ridden, illegal immigrant-filled, terrible nightmare society where every red state will now become a shrinking safe haven against the ever-growing blue state, because guess what? Every Trump initiative will be screwed over, and 2028, you can forget about it because people are going to be done with Trumpism. Because the Democrats are going to make the next 3 years of the next 2 years, if they lose the midterms, the Democrats are going to make the next 2 years of Trump's presidency a living nightmare, dude. Even for Trump lovers, such as myself, it's difficult living in a Trump world, bro. In Trump's America, I am only in support of it because I know where we're trying to get to. We're trying to get to this better place. But if the Democrats intervene and interject in this, and they will make it a nightmare. They will be injected with billionaire money back into the media. The media spin will start again. The media pundits who are now being nice to Trump will very quickly jump back on that train that they were on before, and they will make it like it is all Trump's fault that we are in a recession, that nobody has work, that nobody has jobs, that the country's going to hell in a handbasket. We're probably going to have more terror attacks. We're probably going to everything that he is doing. The ICE raids will be rolled back. Everything will be rolled back, guaranteed, because they will impeach him again, and they will make it like it is the worst thing ever, because that is what happened. That is what happened in 2020, dude. If nobody remembers, I can't believe it because it was only 5 years ago. The pandemic was released. They blamed it on Trump. They said Trump, the reason why George Floyd was killed was also Trump magically for some reason, somehow. Everything was Trump's fault. 2020 felt like the worst year ever, and people voted and believed, even when they didn't, we know people didn't actually vote for Joe Biden, but people believed that a major shift had happened and people voted for Joe Biden because they didn't like Trump. All the Democrats have to do is make people believe that people want to dump Trump. And that's all they just play in optics. That's all they know. That's what they're good at. So it is a big deal about what's going on. Peace does need to be made. We need to stop infighting. We need to stop being so concerned about Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens and Israel and this and that and the other. We need to get down to brass tacks because America First is happening. The first year of Trump's term was always about stabilizing and righting the ship, dude. It was never going to be about burn the boats. That's not what it was about, dude.
If you may remember, because you were there, Reagan in 1983 at one point was behind in the polls to both Walter Mondale and to John Glenn.
Yep.
A year later, he carried 49 states because the economy recovered. So I think that's the key.
All right, let me read you. There's just some other little shreds here. The Harris-Harvard poll. It's a good poll, very good poll. Mark Penn poll, okay? More than half the voters, Newt, 55%, say they trust the GOP and the Trump administration to be able to manage the U.S. economy. Only 45% are with the Democrats. So on that metric, Republicans should be doing very, very well. 55% trust Republicans more than Democrats. Big number. Then, next paragraph of the write-up. However, 57% of the voters said Trump is losing the battle against inflation. Moreover, 56% say the president's tariff policies are harming the U.S. economy. So I want, Ann, what do you make of that? To me, that complicates the picture. They like Republicans on the issue, but they don't think Mr. Trump is succeeding on inflation, and they're blaming tariffs. What do you do about that?
This is heavy. It's warm. Loads of pockets. I'm impressed with it. This is the best skin.
Best skin.
Best skin.
Well, I think what he did the other night in Pennsylvania, you pay attention. You start talking about it. You start focusing on it. But remember, we had about a month of President Trump in the Middle East, in Russia, with Iran, in South Korea. I mean, he was all over the place as a foreign policy president, which was good and important for the world, but it meant people were not seeing him roll up his sleeves and fix the economy. And frankly, the biggest issues in the economy aren't, groceries. The biggest issues are health care, housing, the cost of insurance in general. These are areas where the Republicans have got to get their act together. We need transparency, for example, in health care, which would almost overnight bring down the cost of health care by allowing people to compare price and quality in a way which you do everywhere else in the marketplace. But I think the president has to communicate. And look, I'm not at this point very worried. This is about where I thought we'd be. It's why I thought getting the big, beautiful bill through by July 4th mattered. And I have a hunch that all next spring, much like you saw at the stock market today, all next spring, the American economy is going to recover. Things are going to get better. People are going to feel better. And by July 4th, I believe, people are going to feel that there's a Trump boom versus the Democrats' gloom. And I think that choice will be pretty decisive.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I mean, at the end of the day, growth, prosperity solves all.
Right. So like I said, I agree with Newt Gingrich. His the man knows what he's talking about, bro. He's the reason why the last time we had a balanced budget was under Bill Clinton. He's the reason why, the economy was so great in the Clinton era. He was a great speaker of the House. I don't know him personally, so I can't speak to that, just because politics ain't about that. But this is exactly right, dude. The reason why people like Nick Fuentes have been able to creep up and their message has been clear and loud is because Trump has been doing foreign policy all year. But the reason for that is because what the Biden administration left us with was a world on the brink of World War III. So it's like, dude, when Trump says he ended like 6 or 7 wars, he did, bro. It's like we were literally teetering on the brink of all-out war. If Kamala Harris had gotten in, oh my God, bro. Oh my God. Oh my God. We wouldn't be on, this would not be happening. You would not be watching YouTube right now. You'd be having rolling brownouts and blackouts because, dude, it would be a nightmare. And they want to, and the fact that they sit there and act like if Kamala Harris was in right now, you'd be at brunch. It's like, but this is the first year of Trump's term. Anybody with half a brain knew it was always going to be about global geopolitics, international policy, because you have to stabilize the world. The reason why our economy is doing so bad is because the U.S. dollar lost a tremendous amount of confidence under Biden. So Trump went out and did what he does best. He acted like a used car salesman and sold the crap out of the United States to get investment. That's what that guy was doing. He was going out there selling, making pitches. Hey, why don't you buy this? Why don't you buy that? You should probably buy that from us. That's what he was doing. Next year is the year he's going to have his own Fed chief next year. of his choosing. I mean, I know he chose Jerome Powell the first time, but who knows how much say he had in that, because that was his first term. But he's going to have his own guy this time, which they're going to play around with the interest rates. They're going to make sure things are affordable and we can actually get stuff, because that's the big problem. Interest rates is the cost of borrowing money. That's what interest rates are. It is the cost of borrowing money. And when interest rates are high, it means it's expensive to borrow money. And in a society where borrowing money is how businesses do business, businesses stop doing business because it's expensive to do business. Like, everybody does business on credit. That's why small businesses have credit cards. They use small business loans, all these other things. If the interest rates are super high, nobody's going to be able to operate and do business and flow. So the first part was to get the energy costs down. They're working on that. They're doing that. As you can see, some parts of the country, gas is $2, a gallon. Fantastic. Wasn't $2 since I was a kid when I first started driving. Excellent. That has a supreme effect on groceries and things like that. The groceries haven't come down yet, though, because the cost of doing business is still high. Inflation is still out of control because they borrowed so much money to do that Green New Deal under Biden. So they're changing all those things around, but they're also getting a lot of foreign investment, and they're putting a lot of industry and factories back in business in the United States. That's going to take a lot of time. But next year is going to be about manipulating the money system in a way where we can actually get money flowing in the United States, so the access to capital can happen from the top all the way down to the bottom. That is what next year is going to be about. And if you don't understand that, that's probably why you feel like Trump has abandoned us. Oh my God, he's betrayed us. Like, I've heard that. I've literally heard that. And I'm like, how do people believe that, man? Stuff takes time. But I get it. People are living on the edge. A lot of people have not been, their finances are fucked up. I get it. So people are like desperate. They're like, Trump, we need you. I get it. You always want to be in a position where you can, float for 4, 5, 6 months. Like, this year was not good for me or easy for me financially either. But guess what? Praise be to God. We're responsible in this household, and we were able to float. But next year is going to be fantastic. I truly do believe that. As long as they can get some of these policies through, in the beginning of the year, they're going to start talking about, health insurance. They need to get rid of Obamacare. Get that out of here, bro. Get that crap out of here. That was the first thing that started cutting into the middle class. I remember it. People who actually were making money started having to pay double and triple the prices because it was a communist bill. Everybody who was poor, who was working at the lower class or low, or working class, was like, oh, this is great because now I have health insurance. But what it did is it forced all these employers to cut people down to part-time. That's what started the whole gig economy, because now you needed to have 2 jobs just to get by, because nobody was going to pay you to be full-time, because then they would have to cover your insurance. Obamacare was a complete and utter scam. So they need to get rid of that. They need to open it up. Obviously, making it more capitalistic and competitive is going to be new for people. And so people are going to struggle with it for a while, because most Americans don't really even like capitalism. Most Americans who live on the bottom, 60% don't even really truly like capitalism, because they don't even really understand it, because they just have a job and they get paid and then they use that money to pay bills. That's not really truly a capitalist understanding or mindset. It's a worker mindset. And that's why socialism and communism is so easily, absorbable for younger people. This is somebody said this. I saw like a video clip. This is so true. But somebody made like a reel or something on Instagram, and they were like, bro, why didn't nobody tell me that having a real job is so much better than working a bullshit job? Like working retail or working fast food. Working a real job, he's like, when you actually get paid, they like treat you with respect. They let you go on a break and, for however long you need to, as long as you get your work done, or you need to take a sick. That is how it is when you have a real job. But because when you're a young person, you have all these bullshit jobs in retail, and then you have adults telling you, get a career. And you're like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And you equate having a career to having a stupid retail job instead of an actually good job where you actually have like overtime and pay and vacation and 401k and and you getting paid buku bucks. Like good jobs, dude. When I actually got a good job, I was like, oh snap, dude. Why didn't somebody tell me about this? But I was so allergic to getting a job in my 20s because I thought having a real job was like having a retail job just in an office. It is not. That is not the case. That is not the case. Anyway, continuing.
All these problems. People stop complaining if they have a good job and their wages and salaries are going up and their 401k is going up, which it is. There was a story in the papers a couple days ago. I think it was Fidelity or one of the big money managers, when they looked into their 401k accounts, literally, dude, hundreds of thousands of people have become millionaires because of the stock market. And a lot of this has been during the, I don't know what it's up. It's up, I think the Dow's up, or S&P is up 40% from the lows in April during this year. So it's terrific. I mean, I think growth is important. Here's my point. You need to advertise it. All right, supply side tax cuts. I don't think people know what's in the big, beautiful bill. Deregulation. Look at oil. Look at what oil's doing, dude. West Texas, okay? 50, the two great.
So basically, he's got a point. But we're wrapping up. We're running out of time. But that's the point that they're trying to make, is that, the Republicans and Trump haven't been doing a good job explaining to people what they do. Republicans never do a good job explaining anything because they feel like it's pointless to try to explain anything to the public, which I understand the frustration, but you got to do it. You got to really sell it. And the only person who's a great salesman on the Republican side is Trump. And we all know that. Trump is the only reason why anybody can relate to the Republican Party for the most part. There's not many Republicans that are very relatable, but so that's very true. But I will say this: I look forward to the future. The future looks bright. Things they're looking up. We gotta make sure that we stay on track, bro. We've been on this track for 10 years. It makes no sense to turn around and start doubting where we're going now. Don't believe all the propaganda and the hype. Try to stay as clear as possible. And Candace Owens just put out a tweet just now talking about how she's, met with Erika Kirk, and she'll talk about it tomorrow. So I guess we'll see what comes from that. But thank you all for watching. Black Rant signing out. It's been fun. Love y'all.